What's up, flying penguins and friends from all over the world? Wow. Okay, this morning I just have to share. It's a Saturday morning. I got up early and just felt, hey, I wanted to just pray and meditate on the Lord. So I had about a 30-minute just kind of prayer meditation session. And wow, it just blew my mind. So I just wanted to share this with you. So as I started praying, I was suddenly on this amazing, amazing beach, walking along the beach, holding Jesus's hand, and we were hand in hand, just kind of strolling the beach. And I've been here a number of times with Jesus, and it's awesome. It's fantastic. But for whatever reason, this morning, as I'm walking along with Jesus, I got agitated. And I've never had this happen to me before. But I was suddenly just frustrated. And I'm like, no, I'm not just gonna walk on the beach with Jesus. And I've been trying to push deeper into intimacy with the Father and just to go deeper with Him. And that's just been my the cry of my heart. I've been listening to a lot of Ian Clayton, Justin Abraham, and if you guys haven't listened to those guys yet, buckle your seatbelt if you start because man, they will push you, and I love it. But so this morning, I'm walking the beach with Jesus, and like I said, everything's nice, it's beautiful, it's calm, and I get frustrated, and so like I start a wrestling match with Jesus, and I started it, but it's like I turned into him, and it's like I grabbed him by the shoulders, and it's like I'm gonna wrestle him, and we started wrestling on the beach, and then all of a sudden I end up in the garden. And the garden is a place that I've been to many, many times with Jesus. It's always been just a beautiful, wonderful, peaceful place. And many others that I know of very, very personally. We've gone in corporately. They've gone in personally. And it's just been an amazing, amazing place. But this time I'm wrestling with Jesus. But the funny thing is that once we got into the garden, I felt like, a 6 to 8 year old kid wrestling with their dad. And so I've got a lot of kiddos, and I wrestle with my little ones. And it's, they're going full out. But I'm having a great time, and I'm toying with them and just kind of laughing and having a good time. But they're going full out. And that's what was happening. I felt like I was a little kiddo. And man, I'm full intensity, going full out, giving it everything I've got. And Jesus is just he's toying with me like a loving father. He's not embarrassing me. He's not saying, oh, you're not very strong. He's having fun with me. He's enjoying the wrestling. But the sense was like the way I do with my little ones, that it's cute and it's fun. And that just made me even more upset. And so I keep going, and I start to sense my spirit in this place is getting stronger, and like I feel like I'm a teenager now. And so I've got a 17-year-old son, and he's big. He's a big kid now, and I have a hard time wrestling him because he's as strong as I am. He's not stronger yet, but he is as strong as me, and I have to, he gives me a run for my money now. And I felt like that was me. I was strong. I was a teenager, and I felt almost like rebellious in a funny way. And I'm giving Jesus a little bit more of a run for his money, and the wrestling just intensifies. I mean, it's more physical, it's more intense, and that's like I start to get upset. Like like sometimes kids do it, and oftentimes you'll overdo it, and everybody gets upset, and it's too intense. And I would start to get that way in my emotions, and I would almost start to rage and be angry. But then I would look at Jesus's face, and it was just like he was just smiling, and I'd look into his eyes, and I'd just get lost, and like that rage just subsided. But then I would keep wrestling, and I kept hearing the words of Ian Clayton. Like I said, I've been listening to a lot of Ian Clayton lately, and I kept hearing Ian Clayton's words kind of ring in my ears of "You've got to build a strong spirit." And I know it's a horrible imitation, so apologize. But he's New Zealand and I love his accent. But just that I have to build, it's important to build your spirit and strengthen your spirit. And I realized that's what was happening. And I was getting stronger and stronger. But like I said, it was getting more intense. And then I grew into, like a mid 20s, kind of in your prime as a young man. And as I did that, like suddenly, Jesus is getting me in headlocks and like throwing me and flipping me over him and landing on top of me onto the ground. And I know for some of you that may sound just crazy and like almost violent. And it, to some degree, it was very intense. It was a full out. I was giving it everything I had, and I was determined to win. But Jesus never broke a smile. He never stopped laughing. And not in, like as I said, not in an embarrassing way or condescending way, but he was having fun, but he was intense. And so he flopped me onto the ground and pinned me down and say, "Are you ready to give up?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And I'd get right back up and I'd go right after him again. And he kept flipping me over and pinning me down, and he kept every time almost just like laughing, like almost, when I was a kid, it'd be like, "Uncle, say uncle," and it was kind of a fun deal. But I kept getting up and I said, "No," I said, "not until you bless me." And I kept, the words of Jacob in the Bible when he's wrestling with the angel kind of kept coming to me. It's like, I'm not going to let you go until you bless me and let me go deeper with you. And then I'd grab him again and he'd throw me down and I'd get right back up and no, I'm not ready. And finally, literally, I was so exhausted because this, I don't know how long it lasted, but in the prayer time, it was at least 15, 20 minutes in prayer. And I was exhausted. And finally, I couldn't do it anymore. And I said, "Fine, I give up. I give up." And he just kind of grinned and he said, "Good." And just like, "Okay, now let's talk." And so he starts explaining some things to me that just blew my mind. And he explained many events that happened over the last year for me that were just really difficult, really tough. And he explained things that even happened before then on just words that people had said and prophetic words. And I actually challenged him on the words. I said, but Jesus, those have been said before. And like basically, what makes them different now, And he said to me, it was really interesting. He just looked straight at me. He says, "Because I never said those things to you." And I was like, "Oh, those were words from other men." And they were positive words. And he began to explain why those things happened. And he said basically they were speaking out of season or out of time. And as he explained things, he said, "You need to always come to me for your revelation and for your prophecy and for your words." And I was just like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, But it was a deeper level of intimacy that I've not had with Jesus like that. And it came through a wrestling with Jesus that I'd never done, to be quite honest. But it was honestly, it was amazing. And it is, I can just tell you, like, I'm 15 minutes off of, coming out of that prayer and that environment. So I wanted to just talk to you while it's fresh. But don't be afraid to wrestle with Jesus. Don't be afraid to get in there and get intense and even get frustrated at times. It's okay. The thing is he's not like many of your fathers. He's not like many of the fathers that you see or that are portrayed in the world today. He's a good and a loving father. He's not going to embarrass you. He's not going to shame you. But he wants you to come and wrestle with him. We see that in the Bible with Jacob. We see that through many of the prophets of old, that they wrestle with God. They get frustrated with God. And it's okay. because he wants us to come to him in intimacy, but also coming to him as a friend and a brother. And that's what the word says. He calls us friends. He tells the disciples, I no longer call you slaves, I call you friends. For a slave doesn't know the master's business. He wants us to know the business of the master. And so I want to just challenge you, go into the Spirit and wrestle with Jesus. And don't let up, don't let go until you have that breakthrough with him. But it's a wonderful, joyful, amazing time. So I want to encourage you, if you're in that place of frustration, man, go into prayer and just imagine yourself, just in your imagination, and let your imagination run. But go into prayer with Jesus and just wrestle with him. Take your frustration, take whatever the issue is, and wrestle with him. And get after it. Don't do like a little light touch. I mean, come full speed after him and jump on him and try to pin him to the ground. Because that's what he wants. He wants you. He wants every part of you, not just a fake kind of, oh, I'm going to be nice and this and that. No, he wants you. He wants everything about you. And what he wants to do is put his identity in every single area of your life, even in your frustration, even in your brokenness. He wants you to wrestle with him in identity, because that's what he's doing in the wrestling. Every time I touch him, every time I lay hold of him, he changes me. He changes my DNA. He changes my spirit, and it transforms me into really who I already am in him, because that's the identity. But he changes my thoughts to where I'm believing who I already am more and more. Sometimes that comes through just wonderful times spent with him. Sometimes that comes with wrestling with him. So I want to encourage you today that Jesus wants to wrestle with you, but in a loving way. So I just wanted to share this with you, and I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing day. Be completely blessed. Walk in an amazing identity with Christ and total freedom, knowing who you are as his beloved. He says you are righteous, you are pure, you are whole, you are a saint in him, with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places. So have a great day, and I cannot wait to talk to you again.